In this video, it's going to be the start of a series around how to build your own AI agents. We're going to be doing ones in make.com, as you can see here. We're also going to do other videos on building them in N8N and the other platforms that are going to start bringing out AI agents. Now today, we're not going to be doing sort of the more agentic side of it. We're going to be building out the foundations around actually receiving the tasks, understanding what to do, and then going into actually doing some organization of your inbox. But in some future videos, we're going to have around task and time management, as you can see here, so that you're able to automatically triage and deal with requests that relate to time management. So for example, we've got ones here around calendar management. We're also going to have videos on communication management, so how you can send messages, listen to voicemails, respond to emails, all of this sort of stuff automatically. We're also going to be building out knowledge and all of the other aspects to do with the AI agents. But as mentioned, we're going to do this as slight mini-series versus doing it all in one go. So first things first, what are AI agents? Well, there's lots to talk about them at the moment. We've got another video on the channel that goes into this in a lot more detail. But at a high level, what you can see here on the left-hand side are some examples that's being taught in market. Ali's really great on LinkedIn. She's got lots of information about it. And basically what we're doing is being able to input lots of information, being able to have a knowledge repository, really understand some of the context. Maybe we're storing that in a vector database, incorporating that into how we would then go and complete some actions. And that's where we're going to provide an example like this. So again, this is really high level. But what we're saying is that we're going to have a user. They're basically going to say that we need to complete a task, or maybe the actual agent is running autonomously and is able to go off and do this action on its own or periodically. In our use case, what we're going to do is have a user. They're going to input an action that they want to be completed. We're going to have a master coordinator AI, so it's basically going to get all of the information and then try and triage it to the right agent. And then we're going to do exactly that. We're going to triage it to maybe 5 different agents that we've got, and each agent will have specific tasks that they've been told to complete. Now, to bring that to life a little bit more, we've got an example here where maybe we're going to be going through and generating one which has got a user, again, inputting information, a coordinator AI that's going to actually understand the ask and then try and triage it to the right agent or send it to the right agent to complete. For example, we could have one around a messaging agent. Maybe you want to send a text message, LinkedIn post, or write some emails to some colleagues. You could do that in there. We could have a planning agent, so managing your diary, making bookings, updating tasks. We could have a finance agent, so maybe it's checking your company's accounts or trying to retrieve latest report information. And then you could have a personal one as well, maybe letting family know what's going on, or keeping up to date on some of your maybe more personal appointments that you've got going through, doctor's appointments, maybe something like that, able to notify it as well. So that's what we're going to be looking at as we build through. So let's start into the first one, which is going to be around having that master AI or the coordinator AI. Then what this does is it's basically, as we showed in the diagram a bit earlier, it's the master one that's going to be routing out all of the activities to the different teams. And to be able to do this, we're going to be receiving the messages in Slack. As you can see here, we're going to be able to upload the messages. And then the other part of this is we're going to be storing all of the interactions in Airtable so that we're able to relate back to them. As we can see here, all the different fields, what agent it was assigned to, what sub-agent, if it's been completed or not. Again, we're going to incorporate some memory in the future, so we're able to recall different aspects. We're going to store any voicemail. We're going to store any calls, whether that's inbound or outbound. We're also going to have it all in here, so we're able to use it in the future, so we can, leverage it if we need be, or actually have a record if we made an outbound phone call. So let's jump straight in. So the first thing we're going to be doing is Slack, and we're going to be looking for watch public channels. Again, there's different ways that you can do this. You can do it as a private one if you wanted to just interact with you. We're going to do it as public for now, just in case you've got it as a public channel for your organization or maybe for your company. So to connect, what you need to do is go through to add. You'll then have a connection name. You just need to save that. It'll bring you through to this screen here. And then what you just need to do is at the bottom, press allow. And it'll make sure you're all connected and ready to go. We've already got a connection set up, so we're not going to do that. We're going to come back into our scenario. We'll cancel that, reopen it, and then we'll choose the AI agent, as we can see here. Brilliant. So that's all good to go. Now, to understand what message it's coming through, we're going to do from list and then public channel. Now, again, if you can't find the public channel in here, what you need to do is come into Slack. You need to come down to the bottom left-hand side here for add channels, create a new channel, and then we can do create a blank channel. We can do next. You can do private or anyone in the company. So again, as we mentioned about earlier, if you wanted it to be your own personal agent, you could do it as private. If you wanted anyone in the organization to use it, it could be public. So let's call this test AI agent. And then all you would need to do is create, and then it'll be all good to go and you'll be able to see it in your scenario. So let's come back into make.com, and we've chosen our channel AI agents. So that's the one that we've got here that we've already created. Again, you can have the number of messages that come through. So say you've got 10 messages come through, it will complete this process 10 times. So what we'll do is from now on, we'll do save and we'll rename this to get action. Brilliant. So that's the first steps. This is how we're going to receive the information through Slack. You can do it through WhatsApp, Telegram, or Teams. I'm going to use Slack just for this video. So the next part is there's different ways that the information can come into the agent. So we're going to have voice or text-based. So let's do text-based action, and we'll come down to here. And what we're going to say is that files, URL private download does not exist. So it's basically going to check, has a file been attached to this? If it's yes, then we're going to go through the other route. It's going to be probably a voice action. If there's no file attached, we're going to come through in here. Again, the only thing to know with this is you need to double check if it's a picture. So we can add that as a variation a bit later on as well. So we'll come into here, we'll do voice note or voice action. And then what we're going to say is files and then URL private download exists. We'll do save. So now we've got the two routes. You see it's going to be text-based or it's going to be voice-based. So now what we need to do is use ChatGPT for the text-based, which we're going to go through first to really extract that action and then store it into Airtable. So to do that, we're going to need our Airtable. So as you can see here, we've got resources in the link below if you want to get access to this. But if you want to build it yourself, we're looking for a task column, response column, an assignee column. So again, we've got the different agents that we're going to be developing in here. We've got time management, task management, communication, travel, logistics, financial, meeting, research. And then we also need to uncategorize one at the bottom. Sub-agent, we're going to leave this open text for now, single line text, because we're going to go through and add that in the future. Again, status, we can have in progress, to do, or done. We've also got blocked just in case there's any issues. We're going to, in the future, do around memory. At the moment, it's a bit more of a dumb agent. It's almost like an automation versus actual AI agent at the moment. So we can incorporate this in the future when we are using memory. We also need to have a column here that's just going to store the ID for any voicemails, and then we need created and last modified as well. That's the first part we're going to do. So we come back into the scenario, we're going to do text-based action, and we need to give it a prompt. So for ease, I'm going to come through and copy our agents across. Now, if you're looking for this, all you need to do is come into here and come into OpenAI. The other way that you can do this as well is maybe if you want to use a platform called OpenRouter, create chat completion. This is really good because what it enables you to do is actually multiple different LLMs in the go, and it has a fallback. So in case you run out of tokens on OpenAI, you could use something else instead. For example, here you can do the content, you can do the role. So for example, here we could do exactly the same role. For example, here we can see that they've got DeepSeek R1. That's the brand new model that's come through. But you'll be able to use that in here, whereas you wouldn't be able to use it in a pure OpenAI module. To get OpenRouter working, all you need to do is add and then get your API key. So if we go into OpenRouter, you should see API keys here, which is normally under your profile, and then you can do keys and you'll be able to incorporate it in here. But we're actually going to use OpenAI for this, just the specific module. So let's get rid of that, delete module, and then let's go through and review what the prompt is that we've got in here. Again, OpenRouter is great for choosing lots of the different models, making sure you've got a fallback. Just look at the information that you're putting through there, make sure that you're happy with it. This is going directly to OpenAI. So again, make sure that you're happy with any information that you're sending off or receiving. So as usual, we've got a two-stage prompt in here. We've got the priming prompt and then the actual information. So what we say in this one? Well, we're basically telling it to really analyze the task that's come through and choose the appropriate sub-agents that we're going to be sending it off to. So as you can see here, all the different options that we've provided it. Again, you can increase this or decrease this to your needs. We've given it all the different categories, as you can see here. We've given it some really clear instructions on what it needs to do. And then we've given it a load of examples tied to each of the categories so it gets an understanding of what would need to go where. So if we come down here, we can do save. We'll just align it. And then we're going to go and give it a quick test. So we come back into Slack. We're going to add a message in here, which is I need to book a meeting with Alex before end of the week. We can send that off. Now, if we come into our scenario, we can do run once, and then we should see in here that we've got, up here, we've got the text message. I need to book a meeting with Alex before the end of the week. That's then been ingested. So if we come down to here, that's the second part of the message. So again, we've got the priming prompt up here with all the information. And then the second part is actually the output. So we can see that it's categorized it as time and task management, which is great. It's now logged it. So if we come into Airtable, what we should see at the bottom here is a new entry, which is I need to book a meeting with Alex before the end of the week. and associated with time and task management, and it's to do. So that's great. That's exactly what we need to do. That's where we're going to tie into some of the activities around the AI agent being able to book it in another video, but we're not going to run through that today. Brilliant. So that's the text-based. What we now need to do is the voice actions. So if we come into here, let's just align that so it looks a bit nicer. And then up here, we'll give it the two options to be able to do a voicemail or a voice action. But before that, we need to download the specific file. So we'll come into our Slack, we'll do download a file. We'll make sure to add a connection. So again, making sure that you go and connect it out. Exactly the same as the procedure before. And now we've got it all good to go. So we can come down here, we can do URL for private download, we can do save, and this will be able to download a file. Great. So now what we need to do is make sure that we've got two options. So it's either a voice action, and we're going to determine that by seeing if this does not contain voicemail. Brilliant. So we can do save. And then the second part here, we can do voicemail. And what we're going to say is the file name contains voicemail. Brilliant. So they're the two options that we've got there. So now, similar to the below part for the text, we need to go through and actually extract the key information to be able to use it. So to do that, we need to come into here, we need to do OpenAI, we need to do Whisper. So this is create a transcription in Whisper. We need to make sure that this is all connected. Again, you need sort of $5-10 on your OpenAI account. All you need to do to add it is come into add, and then it will bring up this screen. You just need to add your API key in there. We're going to be using the Slack file that we've just downloaded. We're going to use the model Whisper 1. And then we're going to say, please transcribe this voice note word for word. We'll come down the bottom here and we'll just change that to be text as the output. And we'll do transcribe voice note. Brilliant. So that's all set up. Now we'll do exactly the same for the voicemail. So we'll do Whisper, create transcription. We'll, again, using the same file, exactly the same model. We'll come down to the prompt and say, please transcribe this voicemail word for word, and again text for the output. We'll rename this to transcribe voicemail. If you ever get this red come up, sometimes you just need to come in and do save, and then that will get rid of it so you're all good to go. Brilliant. So now we'll go through and transcribe it. So let's give that a quick test. We'll come into our Slack channel, we'll upload a file. There we go. We'll send that off. We'll come back into our scenario and we'll do run once. Now what it should detect, as we can see there, is it's a voicemail, because in the file note it's got voicemail and then the number, and then in here we've got the full transcription. So we've got, hi, this is Jack from Zoom Info, can we give him a call? So there we go, we're able to transcribe it word for word. What we now need to do is actually do exactly the same down here and take the routing agent and paste it in here. We'll get rid of the filter, we'll do save, and then all we're going to do is come in here and we're going to change the input. And that's going to go from the message that we sent in Slack, and we're going to change that to the transcript that's just come through from the voicemail. So again, priming prompt exactly the same, and then all we're going to do is come into here and do the text. So if I come slightly to the left a bit, you can see that the module's pulsing, so we know we're getting it from there. Brilliant. And then we'll copy that and we'll do exactly the same up here. So we'll come in and we'll change that to be the module 11 that we've got here for the transcribe the voice note, instead of the voicemail, which it will have at the moment. So we'll just wait for that to load. We'll come down the bottom and we'll replace text in there. As you can see, it starts to pulse in the background. We can do OK. We'll do save, auto align. So now we've got the routing to come through. Now, the voicemail one, we're going to add a few activities onto the end here, slightly different to the routing agent, to make sure that we're able to store the information associated with that voicemail. So to do that, we need to come into here, and we're using upsert a record. By the way, if you're ever looking for Airtable, you need to come into here, do Airtable, and then upsert a record in there. So this will either create a new record or update an existing one. In this one, we're going to go through and store voicemail. We'll do OK. We'll just align that so it looks a bit better. Now, to be able to store the voicemail, we're using a slightly different table. So if we come into Airtable, we come across to our voicemail/calls. We need to have an ID. Now this is a formula. All you need to do is come in here and put record ID, and you'll be able to generate an automatic record ID. We'll have any notes on the call. We're going to store the transcript of that call. We're going to be able to provide any recommended actions. We're going to assign it to an agent, the call ID. We're going to have the ID of this table. So in here of the agent log, we're going to have it stored in there so we can refer it back to. We're going to store the URL and say if it was inbound or outbound. So again, when we go on to making outbound calls a bit later, we'll be able to do that. So think of this as a one-stop shop for many executives instead of having an executive assistant or actually this can be used to enhance and support them so that the assistant can focus on other complex tasks versus maybe the more day-to-day. So as mentioned, we're going to be using a different table. So we want to come into where it says table. I'm going to change to calls/voicemails, and then it should show us all of the information. So we've got record ID is going to be automatically generated. We don't have any notes on the call. The transcription we do have, so we're going to come a bit further down and we're going to put that in there. So from module 12, as you can see, it's got transcribed voicemail. So we know we're using that specific module. We'll enter that in there. We've not got any actions at the moment because that's not specific for this module. Assignee, we could actually maybe add the routing agent in there if we wanted to. Call ID, we're not worried about that. The reference ID, we are going to put the ID of the previous one to make sure that we're all tied in so we can have a look where we want to. The URL, we're going to come back down, if I zoom out, to our download a file module, and we're going to come down to here. Sorry, we're going to come back to the start for the watch public messages. And then we're going to do the URL of that module so that we can store it for future use. And then in this case, it's an inbound call, so we'll do save, and now we're all good to go. So the next step, what we need to do is come and actually update the unique ID that we've given the actual voicemail record back into our agent so that we can refer back to it, as you can see here, in the future. Brilliant. So let's come into our scenario, and then we'll just do date agent info with VM ID, so maybe voicemail ID. And all we're going to do is come into here. We're going to change the table. We're going to keep the table as agent log. We're going to get rid of task, get rid of result. And then we're going to come down here to associated call/voicemail. And then we're going to come to the left here, and where it's got ID, so the second one, because this is the one that we've generated, we're going to add that in there and we'll do save. So now what will happen is it's going to take the ID that we generate in here, store it into the agent log table in this column here, the associated call/voicemail tab. So let's give that a quick test. We'll come back into Slack. We'll upload a voicemail. There we go. We've got another one. So we'll then send that off. We'll come back into our master AI, and then we're going to do run once. So again, it's going through identifying if we've got a new message that's come through. We're going to see if there's a file. So yeah, we've got a downloadable file that we're going to be using. It's identified in the filter that it's got voicemail in the title, as we can see here. And now it's gone through and transcribed it. So in this case, it's got the transcription that's come through. We've then got the routing agent, so communication. It's then gone through and updated all these fields. So it's assigned it to communication management. It said it's to do. And then it's got all of the other information in there. We've then updated and stored all of the information. So if we come into our calls and voicemails, we've got one at the bottom here, and we've got the file that we can go and double check in a second. If we come back into our scenario, we've also stored the transcript as well as all of the other information. What we've also done is then stored that ID in here back into our other table. So if we check here, we've got ending GH7, come into agent log, we've got GAH7. So there we go, it's storing it across. The only thing I've noticed is gone through to a new line. And all we needed to do to change that is come back into record ID and update it in there. So where we say it's the ID from the previous module, it's going to update that specific one. Let's just delete these two. Also need to come into our log action just so that we're going to store voicemail received. So we come in here, voicemail received, and then we'll add the transcripts in there. And then you can either add the transcript or the agent that we're going to be using. In this case, let's do the agent. We'll do assign, or good to go, or good to go. We'll do save. So we'll come back into Slack, and then we'll send off the exact same voicemail. There we go. We can send that off. We'll come back into our scenario. We'll do run once. So there we go. It's gone through, identified it, started to log all of the information. So if we come into Airtable, we should see voicemail received. We've got all of the information around it. We've then got the record ID. So if we come across here, we're looking for DFJ. We'll come into here, the bottom we've got DFJ. We've got the transcript in here, so we're able to see that. We've got communication manager, so who's been assigned to, all of the information in there. And then we want AC0, so if we come, so that knows it's being tied back to this record here, which is AC0. Brilliant, so that's all good to go. So that is basically going to be our master coordinator AI. Let's say we'll send off all of the different actions. So that's the first part. The second one I wanted to do in this video is just around inbox management. And this is really useful for many people out there. So again, resource in the link below if you want to get access to it. What you're able to do here is analyze all of the emails coming in and then categorize that in your inbox that you've got access to. In the next videos, we're gonna go through some more complex elements around task and time management or communication management. So let's jump into the automated mailbox. So in this case, we're gonna do Gmail, but you can also do in Make.com, they've got a function called emails. So what we can do is maybe watch email. Let's use that instead. You need to make sure that you're connected to your specific account. So all you need to do is come through and do Google restricted. If you've got a Gmail account or the other ones for other platform providers, folders, we're going to be looking for all of the emails. So we're going to come down to all mail. Criteria, we're going to do unread emails because there's some new ones coming through. And then we're going to be watching out for none of this information. We're not worried about that. And then we can say that we're going to retrieve 100 emails. We'll do from now on, and then we'll rename this to get emails. Brilliant. So this is now going to watch for whenever any new emails come in. The next part we need is actually around categorize them. So if we come in here, we'll copy this module and paste across. So again, this is just a create chat completion. So all you need to do is come down here, open AI, create chat completion, and then you'll be able to do the exact same thing from scratch. So in this prompt, all we've said is, again, the 2 points around the priming prompt, and then the second around feeding it all of the information. So what we can see at the start here is that we've given it a really clear goal where it's basically going to be analyzing all the information from the email and then routing it to a specific folder. We've then listed out all of the different folders that we've got here. So all of the different ones you want. Again, you would just need to go in through and update this. So maybe you've got, for example, Zapier issues or Make.com issues. You also need a fallback bucket, so maybe unknown or other. You could include that as well. We've given it some examples of the information they should see in there. And then we've got some instructions as well for actually how to go and complete the task. If we come down to the bottom here, we've then given it a reminder because we just find some of the outputs were a bit interesting sometimes, where we need to make sure that it's not adding any extra information and it's not adding any asterisks next to them as well. We've then fed the email content. So again, to do that, all you would need to do is come into here, remove that and do text content and do save. So what that's going to do is get all of the text from within the email, analyze it, and then we're going to look to route it. Now, the next part is going to be actually moving that email. So we'll come into here and then we'll look for move an email. Now, how are we going to move it and where are we going to move it? Well, first things first, we need the email ID. So you want to come into here and you want to do UID. You'll see email UID, and on the far left-hand side, it will start pulsing. We'll do that. We'll do source folder again, exactly the same as we did at the start. We're going to do all mail that comes through. So this is going to look at everything in your inbox. And then for the destination folder, this is where we're going to use the output from our last module with ChatGPT, where it's basically going to output that folder that it needs to send to you. So we're going to rename this to move to folder and we'll do OK. Now, I've put a router in after this, but this is up to you for how you want to do it. So maybe you want to mark some as the red that come through. So I'm just going to add our Gmail one in here for a moment, and then I'm going to delete that so we get the filter so I can walk you through it. But we're going to be using, again, the email module, and we'll do mark as red. What this will enable us to do is if we come in here, we can use the ID from the email. We can choose the folder. So again, all we need to do is change that to map. Then we're going to do the result from our OpenAI module, do save, and then we're going to delete this. So in this case, the reason I copied it across is because we've got a load of maybe email labels that we've already got or folders that we've already got. So as you can see here, maybe you've already got specific ones you just want to mark as red. To find that, all you would need to do is come to the left-hand side. You'll see all the different labels in Gmail. You can add some more in here if you wanted to. So again, totally up to you, totally customizable. That's just the way that I've done it for my use case. And then we're going to do mark email as red. Brilliant. So that's all good to go. Now, again, in the other version we've got here is around auto responding to the different individuals. So let's go through some of these together so we're able to use them. So if we come back into our scenario, we'll copy this across and then we'll connect these up so that we can walk through exactly how each one works. So we'll get rid of each of those because then we've got the filters associated with them already. So what we're going to be doing first is maybe we've got the inbox, which is called hot leads. So if it's been moved to hot leads, we're going to go down this specific path. Now we've used a ChatGPT completion module. So as you can see here, create a completion. What we're going to be doing is analyzing all of that information. And then we're going to be writing a proposed response. We're going to output that as JSON so that we can send that email back. Great. So again, we're using a priming prompt and then actually feeding in the information. So as we can see here, we've got the priming prompt, which says, actually, we're going to be generating a formalized response. We need to make sure that we've got a subject, we've got a body. We're using markdown formatting so that it will automatically sort it out for us. We've given it some really clear instructions in how it's going to go through and update all of this information. We've then given it some examples. So we've got here example input and example output. Again, this has got all the information with the markdown formatting that we would need. So it's nice and easy to write the information. Now, what we've said here is please output raw JSON, because sometimes it does ... or JSON. And we don't want that because we need to be able to pass it straight away. And then we fed it in the sender's name. So again, to do that, all you need to do is come into here, but then do sender, or do sender name. We'll move that down. And then email received. Again, this is the text contents. We'll do text and text content. We'll add that in there. And again, you may not have been able to see it, but this is coming from this first module here. So that will start pulsing. So we're going to be using it from that specific module. So that will be all good to go now. We can do save. Now, the JSON body, so what we're going to do is take the example output from our OpenAI so you can see how you would generate it. There we go. So we can copy that. We'll come into our JSON module. So in this case, we've got hot lead, which we've determined the structure. As we can see here is subject and then body. If you wanted to add your own one, all you would need to do is come across to add. You give it a name and then you paste what you've got, the output expected to be in there, and then it will come through and generate it for you. So as you can see here, it knows that it's going to have a subject and a body because of the way the output is structured. The JSON string is just going to be a result from that last module, so they're able to go through and pass that. Now, to generate the response, again, we can use Gmail or you can use the mail module here. In Gmail, all we're going to go through and do is actually add it to the folder of AI responses. So I've got a specific folder where it stores all of those, so I know who to go and look at that. We've then got the email address. For again, get rid of that. We just want to do sender email address, as we can see there, sender email address. If I zoom out, that will be the one on the far left hand side, the first module. Now, the great thing about the parsing is we're able to use that information. So if I get rid of this where it says sender, we can come into here and we can see we've got subjects. Again, that purple module will start pulsing in the background, and then the content, that's going to start pulsing in the background as well. We'll do save. So now that's going to generate a response and store it in a specific folder. We're also going to send a message back into our chat with Slack that says that that draft is now ready to go. Because again, if this is automatic, what we're saying to that individual is that they've got a new lead that's come through that's going to have a look at it. We've got exactly the same for warm leads. We've got exactly the same for cold leads. The personalization is the same. All we've done is gone through and given it a slight tweak to the actual command. All we need to say in here is actually it's going to be looking for a partnership model, and that's where it's gone through and done exactly the same thing. So again, example output, exactly the same structure so that we're able to draft an email that goes back. So let's give that a quick test. We'll do run once. We'll see that it's able to identify that we've had a new email come through. So as we can see here, we've got as seen on Business Insider, your turn is an email that's come through. We've said that it's actually going to be marked as red because it's a bit of a spam mail that's come through. But again, it would be exactly the same for many of the other ones that come through. So as we can see here, they're all basically going into red. So we'll just stop that because majority of them are probably spam, so we don't want to have to respond to them ourselves. Great, so that's been the first part. Again, this is just setting the foundation. So what we've been able to do is create the coordinator AI. We've then got the one here that is actually organizing our inbox so that you don't have to. And it's also notifying us if we've got an email that maybe we should really respond to. Next ones we're going to be going through are around time and task management, and then we're going to go through some communication management as well. And in this one, it's really great because we're able to go and find specific emails and then actually have them summarized to you as well. I hope this video was useful. Again, this is just the start of our AI agent journey. This is more the automation stage at the moment. Really excited to show you what's coming next. All the resources that we've run through in the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.